and I'm here with the rarest and most dangerous species in the entire Amazon. This is Titanicus nailicus, known for his ferocious appetite and constant thirst for the fluff of a squeaky toy. Watch as his needle-sharp teeth sink into his meek and subdued prey. For only one hunter rules the jungle. I've been spotted. I must escape. Ah! Ah! Hello, my children. Your father's brought you a swatching video. Mooncat, not really recently, released their Deadly by Nature collection, which consists of 6 polishes in varying formulas. And all of the polishes draw inspiration from deadly flora and fauna from nature.
As opposed to unnatural flora and fauna?
Yeah.
Like stuffed animals and fake plants?
But like laced with cyanide because they're deadly. So I'm kind of obsessed with the theme because I love spooky plus science, and honestly, who doesn't have their favorite neurotoxin? Comment below your favorite neurotoxin and why is it tetrodotoxin? Regardless, today I'm going to be swatching the new collection, comparing them to things in my collection, and testing them out over black. Some of them over black. So let's sink our fangs into this collection.
Isn't there like a phenomenon where like your brain stops you from biting yourself hard enough to like break skin, but like you could?
Oh yeah, easily. You just have to want it.
Yeah, but like doesn't your brain try to like stop you?
I think most people just don't actually want it that much. Up first is Black Widow. This is described as a red magnetic lacquer that reveals a black base when magnetized and was inspired by the Black Widow spider. Now on the first swipe, I immediately noticed how intense the deep red shimmer was. As unmagnetized, it looked almost like a cooler and darker version of the Arsonist. As for the coverage, it has deceptively good coverage because the shimmer is so intense, but at a lower viewing angle, it's clear that it needed a second coat. Which, speaking of, the second coat pulled everything together nicely, deepening the base and fully establishing that cool-leaning deep red color. Honestly, this is quite stunning unmagnetized, and I can see myself wearing it this way in the future. That said, I did magnetize the third coat in the cat eye style. The red pigment is pulled inwards, leaving behind a warm, inky blackness that I swear has slight shimmers of red that refuse to show up on camera. But also the red stripe does have a touch of multichrome in it, as it can look orange or gold at extreme angles. Now typically I complain about magnetics not having anything in the base, but I don't have that complaint with this polish. I think the stark black base with a vibrant red shimmer is a really effective use of simplicity that brings sophistication in while still staying very true to the inspiration. Personally, this is what I wanted from the Darth Vader polish in the Star Wars collab, as that has a red base with a silver magnetic stripe, while this feels more like a red lightsaber cutting through the expanse of space.
How poetic.
Well, this is what happens when I actually write a script, but it doesn't last for long because I stopped writing after this polish. As for swatch comparisons, the closest is also from the Star Wars collab, Dawn of the Empire. It's also a deep red magnetic with a dark, almost black base, however, it's ever so slightly warmer and has more of a multichrome element.
LMNOP?
It's also a deep red magnetic with a dark, almost black base, however, it is ever so slightly warm-toned and has more of a multichrome element with the magnetic stripe. Now, I personally wouldn't call them dupes, but I also wouldn't have purchased them both, as these subtle differences in tone is not something I look for when buying red polishes. Quick spider warning because I want to show the inspiration for this polish. So we're starting off strong, as I like this one a lot. The simple elegance of that deep, vampy red color really matches the spider well, and its coverage was killer, pun intended. And if I was going to wear this magnetized again, I'd probably have only painted one coat without the magnet and then magnetized the second because the coverage was good enough. So I'm gonna give this 4.5 times you get sepsis from a spider bite instead of superpowers out of 5. Yeah, that was specifically a reference from my cousin who got 2 spider bites and had sepsis once or twice. He's fine now, by the way. Hi, Eric.
Imagine getting bit by a spider and not getting superpowers.
That happens more times than you would get superpowers. When you were a child, did you ever like think really hard that you had telekinetic powers and you like stared really hard at something being like, I can move this with my mind?
No, I think that's just you.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't do that either. No, I don't know, it was hypothetical. Moving along, we have Taipan Venom. Did I say it right?
I don't know. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I would say Taipan, but it might be like Taipan.
Taipan.
Oh, Taipan!
He's venomous if you touch him while he's sleeping.
Do you know the difference between venomous and poisonous?
You've definitely told me. I don't remember what it is.
Science fact time.
Science time.
Venomous means it bites you, you die. Poisonous means you bite it, you die. Whose mouth goes on who? Or I guess touch, but who does what?
Top or bottom?
Are you poisonous or venomous? Anyways, moving along, we have Taipan Venom.
Taipan Venom.
This is described as a gold magnetic lacquer filled with a light green shimmer and bronze flakies that reveal a brown base when magnetized. This is inspired by the inland taipan snake, which is one of the world's most venomous animals. Now on the first swipe, I noticed right away that it was this super pretty, neutral, slight warm gold shimmer with golden flecks, and I was already obsessed with the color. It had fairly even coverage, but there were some slight uneven patches at different angles. However, I do want to say this one had the second best first coat coverage. Now the second coat did show more of the gold base color, but did hide the flakies ever so slightly more. Now the overall coverage was built up more on coat 2, but not enough for me to be happy, as I still noticed it being a little thin on the edges and I could see a clear visible nail line at lower angles. If I wasn't going to magnetize this, I'd probably paint a third coat, but I don't want to paint more than 3 coats, so the magnet's next. With the magnet applied, the bright gold aspect was pulled inwards, leaving a brown tinted gold base with the flakies being more apparent. And there's also like potentially this orangey red iridescent shimmer that I can see in it as well.
Taipan Circle. Taipan Dig.
Taipan Dig. Oh, not good enough.
One more time. Show your butthole to the camera, Titan.
That's the venomous part. This is gonna bite you. He can keep Digatana. Did we tell them about that? Quick pause. I need everyone to be made aware of this right here. One time when I was younger, I recognized Raven Simone on a train to New York City, and we said hi to her, and then she sent me a signed picture of herself in a grassy field. Because it was when Lion King 1.5 came out and she sang the end credit song. So it makes sense. It's dusty. Nick. Raven Simone. Ow.
What a lovely like 2000s fashion moment that is, though.
Yeah, can we talk about the polka dot tights, this chunky blue belt, and this like cheap satin dress?
Wow, really coming for Raven after she sent you a free picture.
It was very sweet of her. Anyways, now that Digatana's done. Back to this polish. Now that it's magnetized, it's a really interesting combo of similar color magnetic pigment with base. It makes it more subtle, and normally I don't care for that, but I'm really biased on this one because it's gold. I also think that it helps that the base is more of a bronzy golden brown, so it does stand out slightly over the golden magnetic pigment. My brother's calling. How may I help you? Oh, say hi to YouTube. We're actively filming.
Oh, hi YouTube.
Do you have anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah. Keep supporting my brother.
Oh, wait, that was actually really sweet. And all I do is make fun of you. I'm sorry for being a horrible person. Well, back to the video. Where was I? Oh, comparisons. The closest in tone is Tyler's Trinkets Yellow Brick Road, as it has a similar warm bronzy gold color. Though I do want to also put it next to Cirque's Hidden Hue, because it's very similar, being a gold magnetic polish with a gold base. However, it is ultimately a different hue.
Hue better work.
Huey Dewey Louie.
Duck nails. Woo!
So it should come to no surprise that I like this one a lot, despite its coverage issues, because it's gold. It really just reminds me of a core memory of mine playing The Sims 3, where I had these like fairy parents, and then the mom was at a pie eating contest and she died at the pie eating contest, so then the dad used the Philosopher's Stone from The Sims 3 Supernatural to try to bring her back to life, but he failed and he turned into a gold statue, and that's why the kids being orphans remind me of this polish.
What a niche reference.
Quick content warning of snakes.
How does it compare to the snake?
It looks actually pretty similar.
Oh, is it time for my science question?
Oh yeah, what's your science question?
If a venomous snake bit itself, would it inject the venom?
It would inject, but I don't know if it necessarily causes harm. It might be depending on the species. I don't see an answer that has enough validation that I fully believe yet.
If anybody's a herpetologist, in the comments.
So this is gonna get 4.5 out of snake. out of 5. Moving on, we have Deadly Nightshade. This is described as an ultra shifty shimmer lacquer that color shifts between shades of purple, teal, green, gold, and blue as it's viewed from different angles. And this was inspired by Belladonna from the opera. Belladonna, dun, 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 dun.
No, I think it's Belladonna, the Slater song.
It's a toxic perennial herbaceous plant. Oh, in the Nightshade family. How does it kill you? Oh, it's berries.
Oh my god, those my berries.
Now on the first coat, it's a wash of a light purple polish filled with a golden shimmer that is just stunning. However, it does have deceptive coverage, as the shimmer is just so intense that it kind of hides the visible nail line, but it's kind of patchy at a lower viewing angle. With the second coat, the warm eggplant color is more saturated and the golden shimmer is even more intense. It honestly looked fairly good on the second coat, but mid-finger wiggle I noticed that at a more extreme nail angle, I could see a ton of unevenness in the base color. So the shimmer hides a lot of application issues head-on, but not from a lower angle, which is why I still painted a third coat. That said, the third coat didn't really do that much of a change, but it did fix the problem from the lower angle. However, I do want to show y'all the first time I took this polish out of the spotlight. Hello? Green?
Green.
Blue? Hello?
It's stunning. Gorgeous, beautiful, stunning.
Kinda hate it. Kinda hate it. Obsessed. In indirect lighting, the shimmer is a violent explosion of multi-chrome colors, and I love it so much more, because none of the coverage issues that I was noticing in an extreme spotlight are showing when the lighting is more indirect. Honestly, this polish really stuns outside of the spotlight because you see more than just the purple and gold shimmer. Like, it's not as good in the spotlight, and it's just more interesting outside of that bright lighting. So it's kind of deceptive, but I like it a lot. As for comparisons, the first thing I thought of was how much this made me think of Phantom Call by Hollow Taco, because it's also a purpley polish with a golden shimmer. Honestly, it's quite similar, however Deadly Nightshade is a far more saturated polish in every aspect of its shift, as it's more purple but also more golden. So this one threw me for a loop. I was initially really excited for it, but then in my spotlight while I was filming, I was less excited for it because it was such a pinky purple and didn't really shift that much, but the moment I took it out of the spotlight, it just wowed me. To the point where I wore this polish on both hands sometime between originally swatching and now. This polish is just so freaking shifty and I really like it, but outside of the spotlight. So this polish is gonna get 3.5 baddies and cream out of 5 in a spotlight, but 5, I'm a little lad who loves berries and cream, out of 5 in indirect lighting. Queen Herbie has no idea what she did when she gave us this wig.
We've gotten so much mileage out of this
Amazon $5 shake and go wig.
Amazon shake and go wig.
Is that right?
As right as it's ever going to look.
Moving on, we have Werewolf's Bane. This is described as a deep purple holographic shimmer lacquer filled with a blue shimmer, and it was inspired by Wolf's Bane. Oh, it actually works really well for the polish. It looks really spot on. Damn. Good job, Michelle. Ingesting as little as 2 milligrams of this or 1 gram of plant material may cause death from respiratory paralysis or heart failure. Ooh, it's even severely toxic by skin contact. Ooh. Ooh. The polish isn't though, by the way. Now I first noticed that the blue shimmer is super aggressive and it's really like a blue shimmery polish as I can barely see the hollow. It had pretty okay coverage on the first coat and it did apply a touch unevenly, but it looked great head on in the camera because the blue shimmer is so aggressive. With the second coat though, it pulled everything together and got to full opacity. With this, the blue shimmer is even more intense and once again, you can't really see the hollow in the camera. But it's there because when it's at a lower angle and the blue shimmer is not activated, you can see more of the warm eggplanty base color. At first I thought of Ghost Ship because it's also a blurple, but it's missing that intense blue shimmer. As for a hollow comparison, Night Mode is a darker blurple color, so it stands apart. But don't expect this polish to be a hollow because the shimmer is just so intense. I personally call this more of a blue shimmery polish with hollow in it as opposed to the other way around. But regardless, I really like this one, and this was another one of the polishes that I wore on both hands between getting this initially and now. So this polish is gonna get 4.5 wolves recognizing themselves in the mirror out of 5. Myself a werewolf? Wow, I guess I'm not funny at all. Moving on, we have Death's Trumpet. This is described as a pink solar lacquer filled with blue shimmer that transitions to a bright shade of purple in its sun-activated state. And this was inspired by Foxglove. Oh, actually, really spot on as well, but for the solar state. Now, on the first coat, it was a very even sheer wash of blue shimmer in a pink base. Honestly, it looks like a blue shimmery version of Mooncat's pink base coat, but a slightly more saturated pink. And this one did have the most even coverage. And on the second coat, it made both the blue and pink even more intense. However, there was still clearly a visible nail line. So I don't really know if this one was intended to not have a visible nail line or not, but regardless, I painted a third coat for funsies. Personally, I only think it's marginally different with the third coat, as the color still looks pretty similar and so does the shimmer, but there is ever so slightly less visible nail line, except when the nail is angled away from the viewer, as the blue shimmer no longer masks that line. Oh, and I do want to add that I noticed that this one dries a touch matte, but this is also a solar polish, which means it shifts color when exposed to UV light. With the black light, it turns into a much deeper pinky color that leans a touch purple, and since it becomes darker, it does help slightly hide the visible nail line. But what I think was really cool was how quickly it shifts back to its light pink state, as it's really fascinating to watch it change colors mid-finger wiggle. Now, I'll talk more about these solar polishes in general a little bit later in the video, but I did want to note that this one did have a similar shift in the sunlight as it does with the black light. This is one of my first solar polishes, so none of the comparisons I have a similar UV shifting effect. However, I first thought of Holo Taco's Cloud 9, as that is also a pinky polish with a shimmer. However, it's actually closer to Starly's Somnia, as that is a light pink with a blue shimmer. That said, Death's Trumpet is more of a blend of hot pink and dusty pink, as it's more saturated than the polishes on the left. I did also grab two polishes to compare to the UV state, and I think that Polish Me Silly's Wonder Glow is super similar, as they have that similar magenta color. So while I think the solar shift is really cool, unfortunately I don't really care about either of the colors in it. Plus, it did still have a fair amount of visible nail line after 3 coats. So I think this one's gonna get 3.5 musical battles between Death on a Trumpet and The Devil with a Fiddle out of 5.
The Devil Took Me Down to Georgia.
Yeah, because it's Death's Trumpet and Devil's Fiddle. I thought that was clever. I'm slaving away writing this script and all I get is a And finishing things up, we have Manchineel Tree. This is described as a neon green solar lacquer filled with orange shimmer that transitions to a shade of burnt orange in its sun-activated state. And this is inspired by the Manchineel Tree, which is apparently also known as the Tree of Death.
I think that like touching any part of the tree can cause like lesions and like burning on your skin.
It's present in every part of the tree bark and leaves and fruit. It's so toxic that even if you stood under the tree during rain, you'd get blisters. Damn. It's kind of cool. They also, like, this is another one that's like spot on matches the tree. I think they did such a good job with this one. Now, the first thing I noticed was how vibrant of a green this was, and that orange shimmer was already coming out, pairing very nicely with the green. I did find that it had pretty okay coverage, but was still patchy. However, this feels normal for colors this intense. With the second coat, it didn't look too bad on camera, however there were still some darker patches where the polish is not as even or thick, so I did paint a third coat. This solved the issue on the finger I was swatching, but I did feel like there was still some patchiness on some of my other fingers on this hand, but I was not about to do a fourth coat. As for the solar aspect, this is really cool. With the UV light, the polish turns into this burnt orange that no longer competes with the orange shimmer, and I really like that this color turns into an almost olivey orange, which is just so unique. The green state, however, is not as unique, as I have a couple of other brat greens with a golden shimmer in my collection. However, in direct comparison, Manchineel Tree is more of a desaturated brat green. As for the UV state, I initially thought Bootlegger looked similar in vibe, but in color it's more similar to a combination with that and On the Prowl by Blacker is in the Air. So even before the color shift, this is a super interesting combo of brat green plus orangey shimmer. But then it shifts into something that is really unexpected, not only because it's really far apart on the color spectrum, but it also is a lot darker. That said, I didn't have sunlight until the morning.
These are like not changing in the sunlight. Oh, and I'm also showing off how badly we need to vacuum this carpet.
I thought that maybe the windows were blocking the UV light, however I still didn't notice that much of a shift when I was outside. Now Mooncat has said that their top coat doesn't block UV, and I haven't tried it with theirs, so I'm not sure if it's just the top coat I used or if the polish just really needs intense UV in order for it to shift. The most shift I saw was when we were in the city for our anniversary trip, as we were out in the daylight for an extended period of time, and it picked up a slight olive greeny orangey color, which, speaking of, we're still working on the vlog for that, so look out for that eventually. So overall, I'm conflicted with this polish, as the coverage was a little less stellar than I was expecting, and the solar aspect was not as significant. However, the two colors that it shifts between are really interesting. So I'm gonna give this 3.9 dead men in a Sabrina Carpenter video out of 5. Manchineel.
There's always at least one, right?
Yes. It's a good thing that I'm not in a Sabrina Carpenter music video.
Yeah, but you're gay, so you'd probably survive.
For the girls, for the gays, for the days.
Sabrina Carpenter is for the girls, gays, and theys.
Oh, we love Sabrina Carpenter in this household.
We are Carpenter stans.
What does Sabrina Carpenter call her fans? And why is it not the Sabrina Carpenter ants?
Petition for Sabrina Carpenter to call her fans the Carpenter ants.
Sabrina?
Because she's watching.
Absolutely. And here's the collection altogether. As a full set, it's not the most cohesive color palette, but that makes sense as each polish was inspired by a specific plant or animal. I also enjoy the collection being mixed formula, so there's something in there for everyone. Now I did want to test some of these out over black, as their first coat suggested they might work as toppers. The best is Taipan Venom, as it had very even coverage, but specifically when magnetized, as that concentrates the gold into a magnetic stripe, showing the background color better. Deadly Nightshade wouldn't work as a topper, but the golden shimmer shows better over black, fully transforming this polish. And to finish things up, Werewolf's Bane is too dense, and Death's Trumpet is too shrieky to work well as toppers. And before we wrap things up, it's time for the not WOMO.
The NOMO.
The what's on my hands currently. The Today I'm wearing Apocalypse Polish's Fallout collection. This came in recently with some other PR from Apocalypse Annie, and I wanted to try out these polishes to pick my favorite. I think my tops are Sidetracked by Bullshit, Fallout, Quantum Cooler, Radioactive, and Glitter Glitter Never Changes. So essentially everything besides the pink and the jelly. Sorry, Annie. But I want to give a special shout out to The House Always Wins, as this is a stunning topper. The combo of the purple, green, and the flakies is just So now that you've seen everything, let me know what you think. Are these polishes drawing you in with their deadly allure, or are they just toxic and giving you a stomach ache?
A stomach ache.
I was trying to say tummy ache and stomach ache at the same time, so a stomach ache. Words are hard.
You are wearing the shirt.
Evan and Caitlin, if you're watching, I love you.
You know what's a shame that we haven't said at any point during this video?
What?
We have not made a reference to Britney Spears.
Do 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 do.
The song that inspired the whole collection.
And before we go, if you're interested in joining as a channel member, you can join using the link in the description below. So thank you to my Titan Wranglers for supporting us, but an extra special shout out to the many members of the Silver Spurs Club. They're dead. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Stay deadly.